rope drop in Disney World is dead. They took it away, sold it back, and called it convenience. Here's how to tell if playing their game is even worth it. Part 1, when morning lost its magic.
Rope drop didn't evolve. It was quietly and gradually made obsolete. There was a time when that phrase meant something, when anyone who wanted to wake up before sunrise actually had an edge. You stood at the gate with a coffee in one hand, and if we're talking the 1990s or before, it was a cup of really unappealing weak coffee and a plan in the other hand, racing the sun for a shot at 3 headliners before breakfast. That world is gone. Not because people stopped trying, but because Disney realized too many people were winning for free. Early theme park entry was supposed to be a reward. Now it's a baseline cost of participation. Disney doesn't just let resort guests in early anymore, they let in almost everyone sleeping anywhere nearby. The Swan, the Dolphin, the Waldorf, the Four Seasons, the Drury Plaza, 30-plus Disney resorts, and more than a dozen partners. Let's say it's 4 people per room. Well, over 100,000 guests walking in with what used to be your quiet half-hour advantage. So if you're staying on property, that perk, which I put in quotes, doesn't set you apart anymore. You're not beating the crowd, you are the crowd. And if you're not staying at one of those hotels, you're already 30 minutes behind a race that started without you. It's not an accident, it's architecture. By flooding the gate, Disney made every guest feel equally late. But once you know that, you can play differently. Early entry isn't a badge of loyalty anymore, it's a tactical tool. In Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, it can still buy you 2 rides before the surge. In Epcot or Animal Kingdom, it buys you security, 30 quiet minutes of open pathways before the noise hits, or, like everyone else in the park, you wait in line for Flight of Passage. Rope drop didn't just die, it was repurposed. And if you treat it like the secret weapon it really can be, it can still hit hard.
Part 2, the price of every minute.
Lightning Lane wasn't invented to make your day easier. It was built to make waiting feel like a mistake. For 20 years, FastPass made planning the superpower of the organized. You could beat the system just by knowing how it worked. Here's the timeline. FastPass started as a free skip-the-line system. You grabbed paper tickets at each attraction or, later, booked them on the app. It rewarded people who knew how to plan without spending an extra dime. Then came FastPass Plus, the digital upgrade. You could pre-book up to 3 rides per day as far as 60 days in advance if you were staying at a Disney World resort. It gave planners a head start. A quiet little thrill that you'd outsmarted the system before you even boarded your flight. But Disney wasn't making money off that. So they replaced it with Genie Plus, a paid version of the same concept. It cost around $15 to $30 a day, and you couldn't pre-book anything. You had to wake up at 7 a.m., race through the app, and refresh until something decent popped up. It promised convenience. What it delivered was chaos. That's why we call it chaos disguised as convenience. Now comes Lightning Lane MultiPass, the next evolution. It finally brings structure back, but the strategy that used to be free now costs cash. 3 rides pre-booked, but for resort guests, only 7 days in advance, and if you're not staying at a resort, 3 days in advance. After you tap into your first ride, you can add another and another, one at a time. It rewards discipline, not luck, but it also rewards labor. Because if you're not managing the app, you're losing the value you paid for it. And that's the business model. You're no longer rewarded for knowledge. You're punished for hesitation. Every minute you spend in a standby line is a minute Disney has taught you to feel guilty about. Because you've already spent all the money, what are you doing in line? Might as well spend a little bit more. Because the system now sells the illusion that no one has to wait. Only people who choose to. It's not selling speed, it's selling permission to stop feeling behind, and it's selling that permission by the minute. Lightning Lane MultiPass, Lightning Lane Single Pass, Lightning Lane Premier Pass. They sound like upgrades, and some of them are, but really they're just charging prices for the same thing. Relief. MultiPass sells structure, about $15 to $45 per person per day. It gives you the right to plan ahead, the privilege FastPass once gave away for free. Single Pass sells certainty, $10 to $25 for one guaranteed headliner ride. And these rides are in a whole separate section to themselves. You can't book them with MultiPass. Maybe think of it like a regret tax. You pay to erase the thought of flying home without having ridden Tron, Rise of the Resistance, or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. You can pay separate for all three of those. Premier Pass sells freedom, $129 to $449 per person per park per day. It buys you frictionless control. You're not skipping lines, you're skipping participation in the same anxiety Disney designed in the first place. None of this is a bug in the system, it is the system. Because once Disney learned that time could be monetized, every minute became a product. Early entry is now an entry fee. Lightning Lane is an upgrade. And the parks themselves, they're still the stage, but the story has changed. This isn't the era of FastPass anymore. This is the age of time economy. And the only real question now is, if every minute has a price, how many of them are you willing to buy?
Part 3, the strategist's playbook.
Lightning Lane MultiPass feels familiar for a reason. It's FastPass Reborn, but now you're paying for the privilege of doing the work yourself. Genie Plus was chaos, we covered that. You paid, opened the app, and hoped something good was left. Return times vanished in seconds. You couldn't plan ahead, you could only react. The system rewarded the fastest refreshers, not the best planners. MultiPass finally restores some structure. You get to plan ahead again, but only for 3 rides, and only if you pay. Here's how it works. Each person in your group can pre-book 3 rides in one park per day. Once you use the first one, you can add a new one at a time through the app. And yes, there's still a tier system. You have Tier 1, the headliners, and you can only book one of those in your first 3 picks. And then you have Tier 2, rides we love, but maybe everyone in the park isn't fighting to ride them all at the same time, like the newest, coolest rides. Think of it as a traffic control measure disguised as fairness. If you're staying on Disney property or at a partner hotel, you can book your ride 7 days before your check-in for the entire length of your stay for up to 14 days. Off-site guests get 3 days, which means the best times for the biggest rides are usually gone. That head start is one of the biggest reasons MultiPass feels like the old FastPass again. Only this time, it lives behind a paywall. And that's the trade. MultiPass rewards discipline, but it also demands labor. You're not paying for comfort, you're paying for the right to keep up. The system doesn't manage itself. You have to manage it. If you love optimizing, this is your playground. If you came here to relax, it's unpaid administrative work. But if you accept the labor, it can still pay off. Here's how the best players win the game Disney built. Step 1, front load your hits. Book the highest demand rides first. Slinky Dog Dash, Frozen Ever After, Peter Pan's Flight, Space Mountain. Don't waste your first 3 reservations on filler. You're not buying comfort, you're buying turnover. Step 2, ride early, rebook early. The system resets after you tap in. Ride sooner, rebook sooner. That's how veterans double their ride count. They're already booking their next move while everyone else is still taking photos of the first. Step 3, use your 7-day head start. If you're staying on site or a partner hotel, your advantage starts before you even arrive. If you're off-site, consider filling in the gaps with Single Pass because your options will already be picked over. That doesn't mean you shouldn't consider using it. It just means your first day booking is not going to be thrilling. Step 4, think in flow, not inventory. You're not booking 3 rides, you're building a rhythm. Book, ride, rebook, repeat. Done right, that rhythm can turn a 9-ride day into 15. MultiPass works best in Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, parks with dense lineups and high demand. It's less efficient in Epcot where long walks kill your rhythm and almost unnecessary in Animal Kingdom where standby lines move faster. MultiPass doesn't reward magic. It rewards momentum, and if you're willing to trade spontaneity for structure, it can still give you the kind of day that used to be free.
Part 4, the system that eats itself.
Lightning Lane Multipass only works when the math adds up, and in 2 parks it doesn't. Epcot and Animal Kingdom are where the illusion cracks, not because the app fails, but because the parks do. There just aren't enough rides to justify the cost. At Epcot, half your day is spent walking. The headliners, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Test Track, and Frozen Ever After, all pull huge crowds, but only 2 of them are even eligible for Multipass. Guardians sells out early through Single Pass. You can't maintain flow when your next Lightning Lane is a 20-minute walk away, or when one of your pre-booked rides is closed for weather or a breakdown, which does happen a lot with Test Track. The rhythm dies and the price starts to feel like punishment. Animal Kingdom, though, if you can believe it, is worse. Outside of Flight of Passage and Expedition Everest, most rides hover around 40 minutes even on peak days. Now, Dinosaur's closed. There's 1 less thrill ride, and there weren't that many to begin with. Buying Multipass here is like paying surge pricing for a short Uber ride. You'll get there, but you didn't need to spend all that money. That's the first failure, park mismatch. The second is surge pricing. When Multipass hits $45 a person, a family of 4 has already spent nearly $200 for maybe 6 Lightning Lane rides, assuming they hit every window. The third failure is fatigue. Multipass doesn't manage itself. You have to refresh the app, adjust times, and rebook instantly. Remember all those timers I set for myself? If you've ever watched me show The Loophole, I set timers, and it's all that I can really do. I can't enjoy the rides when I use this method, but I'm getting my friends on every ride. If you stop moving, you lose value. And when you lose value, the day starts to feel like work. That's where most people break. They buy the speed, but then they can't keep up with the pace of the system. The app stops being a tool and starts being a leash. Then comes expectation drift. People assume Multipass guarantees shorter waits. It doesn't necessarily. It just divides the same total wait into smaller, more expensive pieces. This is how the system eats itself, by turning efficiency into anxiety and anxiety back into revenue. It's not broken, it's working exactly as designed. The more it fails you, the more it convinces you that you simply didn't play it hard enough.
Part 5, the regret tax.
Not every problem needs a system. Sometimes you just need a single fix. Lightning Lane Single Pass is that fix. The clean, simple pressure valve in a world of overcomplication. It doesn't promise efficiency, it promises relief. You're paying $10 to $25 per person per ride. You pick your time, you tap in once and that's it. No juggling schedules, no rebooking, no phone marathon. It exists for one reason: regret. Because there's nothing worse than flying across the country and missing the ride that defined your trip. Tron, Rise of the Resistance, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. You know which one is for you. That's where Single Pass earns its value, not in time saved, but in anxiety deleted. It's the regret tax again, and sometimes it's worth paying. At $20 a person, a family of 5 drops $100 for one guaranteed ride. It sounds steep until you realize that 2 hours in a standby line costs about the same in wasted time and frustration. But here's where it collapses. If you already have early entry, you probably won't need it. If you're visiting for multiple days, you'll get another shot. And if you're the kind of guest who can't stop calculating value after you've paid, you'll ruin the ride trying to justify it. Single Pass isn't strategy, it's more like security. It's the I came, I saw, I wrote it emergency button. It won't double your ride count or smooth your day, but it removes one fear that you came all this way and missed the one thing you were here for. And in a park built to test your patience, that might be the most valuable purchase you make.
Part 6, the price of control.
Every system has a ceiling. At Disney, it's called Lightning Lane Premier Pass. This isn't an upgrade, it's a declaration. This is the pass that lets you skip every Lightning Lane attraction in a single park one time, no reservations, no tapping, no juggling. It's as close to total control as Disney sells. The cost is staggering, anywhere from $129 to $449 per person, per park, per day. A family of 4 could spend nearly $1,800 for one park one day. But here's the truth, it's not made for most guests. It's made for the ones who don't wait in their regular lives either, for people whose time already has a price tag. For them, managing return times on an app feels like manual labor. Premier Pass isn't about thrill rides, it's about alignment. It makes the Disney day function like the rest of their world, frictionless, immediate, and obedient. Oh, and at a very hefty price tag. At that level, the price isn't indulgence, it's consistency, because the alternative isn't saving money, it's submitting to inconvenience. That's where the math changes. Or maybe the emotional math. At $450 to $900 per hour, a VIP tour guide is the next step up. $3,000 to $6,000 for the day plus park admission. A guide doesn't just walk you into rides, they choreograph your day, move you through the crowd, and make the park orbit around you. Premier Pass is the stripped down version of that service. No guide, no hand-holding, just digital control. For most guests, it's overkill. But for the ones who live in constant motion, it's logic, because your time already costs hundreds of dollars an hour. Waiting in line isn't frugality, it's waste. This isn't luxury anymore for some people. It's self-preservation, the price of keeping your world consistent inside a place built on fantasy and chaos. For everyone else, it's the moment the illusion breaks. The park stops being a shared experience and starts being a tiered reality. One where magic is measured in how much of it you can afford to skip, not how much of it you can actually do.
Part 7, the real cost of where you sleep.
Where you sleep decides how your morning starts. And at Disney, that decision now defines your entire day. Early theme park entry used to sound like a luxury perk, a small bonus for staying on property, but now it's practically mandatory. That 30-minute advantage doesn't just belong to Disney resorts anymore, it extends to an entire ecosystem of good neighbor and partner hotels like the Holiday Inn Disney Springs, Drury Plaza, the Swan and Dolphin, and the Four Seasons. That's the twist. You can spend $70 a night or $1,700 and still walk through the gates at the same moment. Literally, there are times of the year I will check the Holiday Inn Disney Springs, which is a very nice hotel, and they will be offering $70 a night rates. And then you go over and look at the Four Seasons and it's $1,700. Can you imagine? Everyone's getting early entry. The same exact early entry is being experienced by both parties. The same head start, same crowd, same race. Early entry means everything if you don't have it, and almost nothing if you do. When tens of thousands of people share the same advantage, it stops being an advantage. For Disney resort guests, that perk doesn't separate you from the crowd, it defines it. You're not ahead, you're just first in line to wait again. But for the off-property guests, the ones still held at the rope until the official opening, that same 30 minutes becomes a wall you'll never climb. By the time you're allowed in, half the park is already cycling through their second ride. That's where Lightning Lane comes back into play. If early entry makes everyone equal, Lightning Lane is how you buy your way out of equality. Budget travelers can use this paradox to their advantage, stay cheap at a partner hotel, use early entry, and skip multi-pass entirely. You're already halfway ahead without paying the premium. Luxury travelers face the opposite problem. If you're spending Four Seasons money, you've already paid for convenience once, and you'll feel it missing. You're not used to refreshing apps or strategizing like a local. That's when Premier Pass or a VIP tour stops feeling indulgent and starts feeling like necessity. This is the new travel equation at Disney. Value tier hotels buy you time, deluxe tier hotels cost it back. The cheaper you stay, the more powerful your perks become. The more you spend, the more Disney expects you to pay again for the privilege of convenience. Early entry doesn't just open the gates, it tells you what kind of player you are. One who strategizes from the bottom up or one who buys from the top down.
Part 8, the game you can't opt out of.
At some point in every Disney trip, you stop checking the app and just look around. The crowds, the clocks, the notifications, it all starts to blur. That's when the real question surfaces. How much of this did I choose and how much was chosen for me? Because Lightning Lane isn't really about who's smarter, it's about who's willing to participate or who's willing to pay to participate. You don't opt in once, you opt in over and over again every time you trade $1 for a day. There isn't a single right move, only calculations that shift with every family, every season, every day. If you're staying on property or at a partner hotel, you've already paid for time in your nightly rate. If you're off-site, your first hour is spent buying it back. If you're visiting during peak season, multi-pass and single pass earn their keep before 10 a.m. In the off-season, you'll save more time by putting your phone down. Trip length changes the math too. One day, pay for control. A week, let the park breathe. You'll get it all done eventually, and most importantly, know what kind of guest you are. If you love optimizing, Pass is your playground. Tap, refresh, repeat. If you hate screens, buy Premier or book a VIP tour and let someone else hold the map. If you just want one guaranteed win, Rise of the Resistance, Flight of Passage, Tron, Cosmic Rewind, Single Pass is enough. The only mistake is trying to live in both worlds, planning like a strategist and relaxing like a dreamer. That's how you end up paying for both control and chaos at the same time. Every guest fits somewhere in this new hierarchy. The trick is being honest about where you belong. Because this was never about money. It's about what your time is worth to you. Time waiting, time managing, time letting go. You can spend it 3 ways: with effort, with strategy, or with cash. The right one isn't the cheapest or the most expensive. It's the one that matches how you travel. There's no single answer anymore. Only the best day you can afford under the rules they wrote.
If you made it to the end, go ahead and put this password in the comments below. And while you're down there, like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when myself or one of my friends comes out with a brand new video, something we do all week. See you next time. Why? Because we're serious about fun. Have fun.